think that's an anhinga.
Anhinga?
Yeah.
And look at the cave.
So when it rains really hard, the water rushes through there for a waterfall.
You know, I think that's like a water shirt. You probably didn't see it in the closet. From Arcadia.
Oh, my Peace River one?
Yeah.
I didn't have that. Yeah, that.
Good morning. Floating down Ichetucknee River in a kayak for the first time and enjoying myself. It's pretty quiet out here. It's not that crowded. I was really expecting more people and more crowds, but I guess maybe because that it's a little more pricier to do kayak rentals, you don't get as many people. The tubing area seems much busier, but that's more, I guess, a party place and families and groups. So, but this is pretty nice. Once again, I think kayaking in my future. And I gotta say, a kayak is definitely easier than a canoe. These are so light though; they just drift around. I feel like I'm oversteering or overcorrecting, and they just really move so much with the current. So probably something that's a little better or sturdier, a little more weight. Well, it'd be harder to move. Would also be a little bit more stable. So that's it. But definitely enjoying the kayak.
You have to go for a swim too.
You guys want to smile with the gator? Oh, there's the gator. He's right there.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to grab that log there, and I'll try to grab it. See that little log right there? I'll try to grab it.
So finally reached the part of the river where the tubes leave, which is a nice relief. I gotta say, definitely much harder with all the tubes. The tubers in the water, they're all over, they're clumped up. It's definitely not as enjoyable a ride, and it's much harder to get around them. It's like obstacles. You gotta kind of, you're afraid you're gonna run into them or hit them, and coming up near them. So I gotta say honestly, I was not enjoying that part of the river where we share it with the tubing community, but definitely enjoying right past it. Just the noise level drops, the conversation, and it's just easier to navigate along the river. That you don't have to watch out for all these people that are strung out. There's a lot of them. So anyway, keep going. Should be coming to the takeout point soon. Well, good morning. Just a little supplement, I guess, to this video from Ichetucknee Springs. that I went to. We did a family camping trip. With my ankle being in recovery, I was trying not to do too much walking. I did do the nature trail there, but it's short. It's only it's less than 2 miles. So I didn't think it was too much for me. And it's pretty graded very well. It's nice and smooth. And there were some roots and rocks to watch out for, but nothing major. Also, as you can tell in the video, I did some kayaking, something I've never done before. I've used a canoe, but I've never used a kayak. And I did find it easier than a canoe. So everybody that told me that it's much, much easier, you were right. It is much easier. I found it to be much, much easier to steer and guide. It's more intuitive because it's just not as bulky. You don't have to use any special, strokes and everything. It was a one man. It's like blown plastic, so it's really light. Unfortunately, it seems to drift a lot. I couldn't, like a canoe, you can kind of like stop and it'll keep going. It has more weight and its inertia. But the kayak I was in was very light. I felt it really moved around a lot. It was very responsive, but it was also, the minute you stop paddling, the current or the wind even would really just move you around in whatever way you were doing last. So I found that to be a little unsettling. I did it once again. I took my pocket rocket, that's my stove, my Pocket 3, my Osmo, the DJI, camera thing, and I left the memory card home where I had transferred video. So I brought it with me, brought batteries, figured I would take it on the trip, and when I go to fire it up, no memory card, so therefore no way to store videos or record them, so I ended up using my phone. Went by the springs, water was crystal clear and beautiful. I just thought it was too crowded. I definitely would not want to be there. It's basically like a ring that's shallow, and then in the center is where the spring comes up, and it's much deeper. So you basically have all these people standing around in the shallow area with kids and playing and splashing, because you can't stand anywhere else except right there where the stairs let out. So it kind of gets crowded, and they do shut it down, luckily, because it seems like it would be, if they left it open, it would be an accident waiting to happen. There's just too many people. I liked the kayaking. It was nice. I did not like the kayaking where the tubers meet the kayaks. I think it gets too congested for some of them. Some of them are spread out. They're joining hands or they're holding together. Sometimes they form these groups of 3, 4, 5, 8 even, of tubes together. And it's funny, you're going down there and you see everybody sitting in, I shouldn't say everybody, I would say probably 60 to 70% of the people, maybe even more, and I think I'm being generous on the low side, are sitting in their tube staring at their phone. They're not enjoying nature around them. They're not even looking around them. They're not even interacting with the people that they're going down the river with. And that was shocking to me when I first saw them, how many people were just on their phone, sitting in a tube floating along and not seeing anything around them. So that was surprising to me. I did see a gator in the water swimming upstream when we were going downstream in camping there, and I would definitely recommend going to the campground we stayed at. It was very nice. The facilities were good. The bathrooms worked. Lots of hot water, good water pressure. You're not that far from some stuff, and you're right outside the park. I mean, literally a couple of miles and you're at the park. So it's popular for that. You do have an element of people, depending on like a Friday night, it was a little louder. There were some people that were enjoying the thing, and it did settle down. And interesting thing with those animals running around, they're not caged. So they come visit your Union campsite sometimes. We were right near them, so they came in. And I spoke to the owners of the place, and they've been running it for I think 25 or 30 years. They bought it, and it used to be a bar, that I went in because they had bar stuff in the office. And I was asking about it, beer on tap there because they had a tap, still sitting there, but it didn't work. It was just for show because it used to be a bar, and they've converted it into the campground and they use it as the office. It was really nice. So I'll put the information for it hopefully in the comments below. If you want to stay there, they're very nice people, and it's a very nice campsite. I would probably stay a little bit away from the animals next time. The grandkids liked the animals, but did not like them. You can always walk over to the petting zoo and see them, but they didn't like them. They came up to them. They come running up and they see you because they're looking for food. They're used to people, obviously, and they didn't like that part of it. And it is very dusty. Be prepared for the dust because the campsites are used often. So a lot of them, there's no grass growing because they're just overused in the sense of every weekend someone's staying there. So the grass doesn't really have a chance to grow. But it was a nice location, And be careful of ticks. Again, my big story for that weekend for me, unfortunately, is there were ticks there. I don't know where I got one, but I did get one. I don't know if it was from the campground or from the park on the nature trail, but I noticed the second day we were there, I took a shower, and just when I was soaping myself up, I felt something in the back of my knee. I didn't know what it was, and I actually pulled on it. It was a tick. I pulled it out. Luckily for me, I managed to get the whole thing out. The head came out and everything. However, I realized very, very quickly the next day that it was the red spot on my back of my knee was spreading, and it was hot to the touch. So I knew right away there was a problem. So upon returning, ticks have not been good for me. Upon returning to Jacksonville, the apartment we're staying at, pretty much after I got home, I dropped all my equipment, emptied out the truck, and I went to urgent care because I had an infection in the tick bite. They were able to see in there and said I got it all, but it was infected, and I started a 7-day course of doxycycline. It looks a little like a mosquito bite now, but it was really swollen. It looked probably softball size in the back of my knee for a while, so I knew right away there was some problem. That was at its worst. The day after I started the antibiotics is when it started, and then it really massively went down very rapidly. But this trip was great, otherwise than my tick bite. So obviously ticks are not my friends. I must have some susceptibility to them. They've really, 2 years in a row in March and April, they've been a problem for me. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Till we meet again. It's wake up time at Ichetucknee Springs Campground. I think a couple of these roosters are chronologically challenged. They start going sometimes at 2, at 4 in the morning, and at least today it's after 6.